The shotgun blast echoed across the frost-kissed fields of Willow Creek Farm like a thunderclap from hell, shattering the morning quiet and sending a flock of crows exploding into the sky. Ethan Harper froze mid-step on the creaky porch, his heart slamming against his ribs as the acrid smell of gunpowder bit into the crisp Iowa air. His grandfather's favorite pheasant-hunting rifle still smoking in the old man's gnarled hands. "Boy," Grandpa Harlan rasped, eyes wild with something fiercer than the dawn hunt's adrenaline. "If you think you can run from this family like your daddy did, that barrel's got your name on it next." Ethan's knees buckled, not from fear of the gun, hell, he'd faced worse in the dimly lit bars of Chicago, but from the raw betrayal twisting in his gut like barbed wire. He'd driven 12 hours through the night, the weight of his secret heavier than the duffel bag slung over his shoulder, only to arrive at the sprawling Harper estate for Grandpa's 80th birthday bash and find the old man waiting like a sentinel, rifle cocked, as if he'd known Ethan was coming to confess the truth that had poisoned every family holiday since he was 17. The farm, with its weathered red barns and endless corn rows stretching to the horizon under a bruised purple sky, had always been Ethan's anchor, the one place where the world felt solid amid the chaos of his hidden life. Now it loomed like a graveyard of unspoken lies. As the echoes faded, Grandpa lowered the rifle with a grunt, slinging it over his shoulder like it was just another tool for mending fences. His face, etched deep with lines from decades of sun and sorrow, softened just a fraction, enough to reveal the flicker of the man who'd once hoisted Ethan onto his shoulders during 4th of July parades. "Get inside, son," he muttered, turning toward the house where the first hints of cinnamon and coffee wafted from the kitchen, the family already stirring for the day's festivities. "We got ghosts to bury before the cake gets cut." Ethan followed, his boots crunching on the gravel path lined with heirloom roses his grandmother had planted before cancer stole her away 10 years back. The Harper estate wasn't just land. It was a century of sweat and stories, 500 acres of prime Iowa black soil that had fed generations and broken just as many. Grandpa Harlan had clawed it back from the banks after the '08 crash, vowing no banker would ever touch it again, and now, at 80, he ruled it like a king from his sagging armchair in the den, surrounded by faded photos of stern-faced ancestors who'd fought in every American war worth a damn. Ethan had grown up idolizing that unyielding spirit, summers spent baling hay and learning to drive stick on the old Ford tractor, dreaming of one day inheriting the keys to it all. Not for the money, but for the legacy, the proof that he belonged in a family that prized grit over everything. But belonging had always come with strings. Ethan's parents, Harlan's only son and daughter-in-law, had split when he was 12, his dad vanishing into the bottle and a string of bad bets in Vegas, leaving Ethan and his mom to scrape by in Des Moines. Grandpa had stepped in then, pulling strings to get Ethan into Iowa State on a partial AG scholarship, barking at him over Sunday dinners about making something of yourself, boy, no Harper's quit. Ethan had tried, God how he tried, majoring in sustainable farming, interning on co-ops, even dating a girl from his dorm named Sarah for 2 years just to keep the questions at bay. But the lies piled up like unpaid bills, and by 25, with an entry-level job at a Chicago nonprofit pushing urban gardens, he was suffocating under the facade. It was Sarah who'd finally cracked him open, over cheap Merlot in her Wicker Park apartment one rainy spring night. "Ethan, you're not here," she'd said, her voice gentle but firm as she traced the tension in his jaw. "You're loving someone else in your head every time we touch." The confession tumbled out then. Nights scrolling Grindr in secret, the ache for a touch that matched his own fire, the terror of what Grandpa would say if he knew his golden boy grandson preferred men. Sarah had hugged him, whispered that real love didn't hide, and by summer's end, they'd parted as friends. But the freedom tasted like ash. Every call home from Chicago felt like dodging landmines, especially with Grandpa's birthday looming, the big 8-0 that the whole extended clan, cousins from Omaha, aunts from Kansas City, was converging on Willow Creek 4. Now, as Ethan shrugged off his jacket in the mudroom, the house enveloped him in its familiar chaos. The tick of the grandfather clock his great-granddad had brought back from France, the faint creak of floorboards underfoot, the distant clatter of pans from Aunt Rita in the kitchen. He could hear voices now. Cousin Jake ribbing someone about the Packers' latest loss, Uncle Tom laughing that gravelly laugh that always ended in a cough from too many camels. They were all here, the Harpers in full force, oblivious to the storm brewing between the man of the hour and the grandson who'd come to upend it all. Grandpa paused at the den door, his back a wall of flannel and resolve. "You eat yet?" he asked, not turning. Ethan swallowed the lump in his throat. "Not since Gary, Indiana. Figured you'd have bacon going." A low chuckle rumbled from the old man's chest, the first crack in the armor. "Rita's on eggs this year. Burns black as sin." He pushed the door open, gesturing Ethan inside like nothing had happened, like the rifle shot was just a wayward firecracker. The den was a shrine to Harper manhood. Mounted deer heads glaring from the walls, a shelf of dog-eared John Steinbeck novels, and above the mantel, the oil portrait of great-grandpa Elias, stern in his Union blue, that always seemed to judge from across the room. Ethan sank into the leather armchair opposite Grandpa's, the one that still smelled faintly of pipe tobacco, while Harlan poured 2 mugs of coffee from the percolator on the side table. Black as midnight, no sugar, the way they'd always shared it. The silence stretched, thick as the fog rolling off the Cedar River outside, until Grandpa finally spoke. His voice a gravelly drawl honed from years of shouting orders over combine engines. "Heard you on the phone with your ma last week. Sounded like you were carryin' the weight of the world." Ethan's grip tightened on the mug, the heat searing his palms. He'd called his mom from a rooftop bar in Logan Square, buzzed on IPAs, spilling half a truth about figuring things out with work. She must have let it slip, or worse, Grandpa had eavesdropped like he always did. "It's nothing new, Grandpa. City's just loud." "Bullshit." Harlan's eyes, sharp as new plow blades, locked on. "You ain't been right since that girl, Sarah, up and left you. Or was it the other way round? Rita says you dodged her calls." Ethan's laugh came out bitter, echoing off the wood-paneled walls. "Rita's got ears like a fox. Yeah, we called it quits. Mutual. She deserved better." "Better than a Harper?" Grandpa leaned forward, elbows on knees, the rifle now propped in the corner like a forgotten umbrella. "We Harpers don't do mutual, boy. We fight for what's ours." The words hung there, a challenge wrapped in affection, and Ethan felt the dam crack. He'd rehearsed this 1,000 times in his head, calm, measured, like one of those coming-out monologues from the podcasts he binged in secret. But here, in the heart of the estate that pulsed with his bloodline, the words clawed out raw and ragged. "I'm gay, Grandpa. Have been since I knew what the word meant. Sarah was cover. And I can't keep lying to you, to Mom, to any of 'em. Not here. Not today." The clock ticked louder in the stunned quiet, each second a hammer blow. Ethan's chest heaved, waiting for the explosion. The disownment, the Bible quotes from Aunt Rita, the cold shoulder that would exile him from this soil forever. Grandpa's face didn't crumple or redden. It just shifted, like clouds parting over the fields after a storm. He set his mug down slow, deliberate, and rose to his feet with the creak of old bones. "Get your coat," he said, voice steady as the Mississippi in flood. "We're walkin' the back 40 before the vultures descend." Ethan blinked, confusion swirling thicker than the coffee steam. "What? Grandpa, I just... coat. Now." It wasn't anger. It was command. The same tone that had rallied neighbors during the '93 flood to sandbag the levees. Ethan obeyed on autopilot, following the old man out the side door into the biting dawn, where the first pink streaks of sun clawed at the horizon. They trudged in silence along the fence row, boots sinking into the loamy earth that would soon burst with corn, the only sounds the distant low of cattle and the rustle of wind through skeletal oaks. Willow Creek Farm wasn't flashy, no McMansions or gated drives, but it was alive, woven into the fabric of Harper lore. The barn Grandpa had raised by hand after a tornado flattened it in '72. The pond where Ethan had learned to skip stones and, later, stolen his first awkward kiss with a farmhand's son under a harvest moon. That boy, Tommy Ruiz, had vanished with his family to California when Ethan was 15, leaving behind a Polaroid and a scar that never fully healed. Half a mile in, Grandpa stopped at the old cider press, rusted but regal under a sycamore, and pulled a flask from his pocket. Real whiskey this time, not the coffee. He took a swig, offered it over. "Your daddy?" He started, voice roughened by the burn. "He weren't much for truth-tellin' either. Ran off with that cocktail waitress from Dubuque. Left your ma high and dry. Thought he was chasin' freedom. Wound up chasin' shadows till the bottle won." Ethan took the flask, the burn grounding him. "You ever forgive him?" Harlan snorted, staring out at the fields like they held the answers. "Forgiveness ain't the point, son. Survivin' is. This land? It don't care who you love or how. It just grows what you plant." He paused, eyes distant. "Your grandma knew, you know, about you. Saw it in your eyes at her funeral. How you lingered by the roses instead of the casseroles." Ethan's throat tightened. "She? Nope. Never said a word. But she loved fierce, like the earth after rain. Told me once, 'Harlan, our boy's got a heart bigger than this farm. Don't you break it.'" The old man turned then, clapping a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Grip iron but warm. Ain't breaking nothin' today. Hell, if anything, you're the only one worth giving it to." The words landed like a thunderbolt, softer than the rifle's roar. "Giving? What?" Grandpa jerked his chin toward the horizon, where the estate sprawled like a living map. "The farm. All of it. Been drawing up papers for months. Jake's too busy with his city suits. Tom's lungs are shot. And the rest? They visit, not live it. You, Ethan, you get it. The dirt, the fight. And if lovin' men makes you stronger for it, then plant your flag and grow." Tears stung Ethan's eyes, blurring the golden light spilling over the furrows. It wasn't absolution, not quite. Just acceptance, rugged and real as the Iowa soil underfoot. But in that moment, with the birthday horns faintly honking from the house and the family none the wiser, it felt like coming home for the first time. The party kicked off at noon under the big white tent Grandpa had rented from the VFW hall in town, strung with red, white, and blue bunting that snapped in the breeze like firecrackers waiting to pop. Tables groaned under Rita's spread. Fried chicken crisp as autumn leaves, potato salad laced with Grandpa's secret pickle brine, and pies piled high with lattice crusts that wept sugar. Cousins chased kids across the lawn. Uncle Tom manned the grill with a beer in one hand and a spatula in the other, while Ethan's mom, Linda, fussed over the cake, a towering German chocolate monstrosity she'd baked since dawn, layers as rich as the stories it would prompt. Ethan moved through it all in a haze, the morning's confession a secret ember glowing in his chest. Grandpa had sworn him to silence for now. "Let 'em toast me first, then we'll drop the bomb." So he smiled through hugs, deflected Jake's jabs about Chicago traffic, even let Aunt Rita pinch his cheeks and coo about finding a nice Midwestern girl. But his eyes kept drifting to the edge of the tent, where Caleb Monroe lounged against a fence post, nursing a solo cup and watching the chaos with that quiet intensity that had hooked Ethan from the jump. Caleb had shown up unannounced 2 days back, backpack slung over one shoulder, claiming he was just passing through on a freelance gig. Truth was, he'd driven from Madison after Ethan's late-night text. A Hail Mary plea for backup that read more desperate than intended. Grandpa's birthday. Chicken dinner. Wish me luck. Caleb, with his tousled dark hair, tattooed forearms peeking from rolled flannel sleeves, and a smile that could thaw a Midwest winter, had replied in 2 words, "On my way." They'd met 6 months prior at a queer farmer's market in Milwaukee, bonding over heirloom tomato starts and the shared ache of hiding their worlds from family. Caleb ran a small organic co-op up north, all solar panels and community shares, but beneath the easy charm was a man who'd lost his own dad to a homophobic stroke. Literally, the old bastard keeling over mid-rant about that lifestyle. Now, as the sun climbed high, painting everything in honeyed light, Caleb caught Ethan's gaze and raised his cup in a mock toast, his green eyes sparkling with mischief. Ethan excused himself from a knot of ants dissecting the latest Dateline episode and wandered over, the grass whispering under his boots. "You clean up nice for a farm boy," Caleb teased, voice low and warm like sun-baked earth. Ethan glanced down at his button-down and jeans, the closest he got to dressing up. "Says the guy who rolled in smelling like diesel and destiny. Thanks for coming." "Seriously." Caleb shrugged, but his hand brushed Ethan's arm, a fleeting anchor. Wouldn't miss watching you slay dragons. How'd the old man take it? Like a shot of bourbon. Burned, then settled. Ethan recounted the rifle, the walk, the inheritance bombshell, words tumbling fast as the relief coursed through him. Caleb listened, head tilted, that rare gift of presence that made Ethan feel seen, not scanned. Damn! Caleb whistled soft when he finished. That's some legacy. You gonna take it? Run the whole show. Ethan's gaze swept the estate. The barn's fresh coat of red paint, the windbreak of evergreens shielding the house from nor'westers, the pond glinting like a promise. Yeah, feels right. Like I can finally build something real here with, room for us. The us hung tentative, laced with the unspoken they'd danced around. Late-night calls turning intimate, weekends stolen in neutral cities. The fear of what roots might mean for two men who'd learned to keep one bag packed. Caleb's smile faltered just a beat, something shadowed flickering in his eyes, but he covered it with a sip from his cup. Sounds like a plan, Harper. Just don't go tunning it into some white picket queer utopia without me. Before Ethan could press, Grandpa's voice boomed from the makeshift stage. A flatbed truck borrowed from the co-op, calling everyone to gather. All right, you rabble-rousers. Time to roast the fossil before he keels over. Laughter rippled through the crowd, 80 souls strong, as Harlan climbed up with Jake's help, microphone in hand like a scepter. He looked every inch the patriarch. Suspenders over a crisp white shirt, boots polished to a shine, his voice carrying clear over the fields. 80 years, he started, pausing for the whoops and whistles. And what do I got to show? A belly full of Rita's pie, a liver pickled in branch water, and this patch of dirt that's outlasted 3 wars and 1 divorce. More laughs, warmer now as he spun yarns. The time he outran a twister on horseback, the bull that nearly gored him in '68 but wound up in the freezer instead. Ethan stood shoulder to shoulder with Caleb at the crowd's edge, the proximity a quiet thrill amid the normalcy. Then Grandpa's tone shifted, eyes scanning till they locked on Ethan. But legacies ain't about lone wolves howlin' at the moon. They're about passin' the torch to the one who'll keep the fire burnin'. He gestured broad. My grandson, Ethan. Y'all know him, the Chicago stray who still knows which end of a pitchfork's up. He's takin' the reins on Willow Creek. The farm's his. Lock, stock, and South 40. A beat of stunned silence. Then cheers erupted. Confused at first, then genuine, glasses clinking as Tom hollered, "'Bout damn time!" Ethan froze, the announcement hitting like a rogue wave, his secret half buried under the bigger reveal. Mom's eyes widened from the front row, pride mingling with questions, while Jake clapped him on the back with a grin that hit a sharper edge. Congrats, cuz. Don't screw it up. Caleb squeezed Ethan's elbow. Whisper hot. Holy shit, you're a landowner now. The cake cutting blurred into toasts and twilight, fireflies winking on as strings of bulbs lit the tent like stars brought low. Ethan floated through it, signing papers Grandpa thrust at him under the table. Deeds notarized by the local JP who'd come for the pie, while dodging Mom's probing, "What changed, honey?" with vague nods to timing. Caleb stuck close, charming the ants with tales of his co-op's kale yields. But Ethan caught the way his jaw tightened when Jake cornered him later by the cooler. So, Chicago boys playin' farmer now? Jake slurred slight, 3 beers deep, his salesman's polish cracking. At 32, he was the golden child who'd traded pitchforks for PowerPoints, commuting from Omaha with a wife and toddler in tow. Grandpa's lost it, handing you the keys. You even know what to do with them. Ethan bristled, the old sibling rivalry flaring. More than you, desk jockey. Last I checked, you couldn't tell wheat from weeds. Jake's laugh was ugly, eyes narrowing. Careful, Ethan. This family's got traditions. And you ain't exactly the poster boy for him. The implication landed low, a gut punch Ethan couldn't quite place. Had Jake heard whispers? Seen something in Caleb's easy lean? He brushed it off, chalking it to booze and bruised ego, pulling Caleb aside as the party thinned. Folks drifting to cars with Tupperware hauls. Under the oak by the pond, where fireflies danced like living lanterns, they shared a stolen kiss, slow, deep, tasting of cake and possibility. Stay, Ethan murmured against Caleb's lips. Help me figure this out. Us here. Caleb pulled back, eyes searching the dark. Ethan, I want to. God, I do. But roots? That's heavy. My life's up north, the co-op, my crew. What if this changes everything? It's not chains, Ethan pressed, heart pounding. It's ground to stand on. Together. A nod, hesitant but real. And they lingered there till stars wheeled overhead, the estate whispering welcomes in the wind. But as Caleb's taillights faded down the drive the next morning, Ethan felt the first twinge of unease, like a frost nipping at tender shoots. Grandpa was napping in the den, papers scattered like fallen leaves, and Ethan busied himself in the office, poring over ledgers that detailed yields from 89 droughts to last year's bumper crop. The farm was solvent, thanks to Grandpa's shrewd leases and a solar array Caleb had consulted on remotely, but margins were thin, soy prices volatile, equipment aging. It was a beast to tame. One Ethan was equal parts thrilled and terrified to saddle. Mom cornered him in the kitchen that afternoon, flour-dusted apron tied tight, her worry lines deepening as she slid a plate of leftovers his way. Ethan, talk to me. Harlan drops this on us like it's no big deal, and you look like you've seen a ghost. He waited, the full truth, the man in the truck who'd just left, the fear that acceptance from one Harper might curdle with the rest. It's a lot, Mom, but good. I needed it. She studied him, then cupped his face, thumbs brushing cheeks that still felt boyish. Your grandpa's a hard man, but fair. Whatever's eaten you, honey, this place heals. Just don't let it swallow you whole. Her words echoed as Ethan drove into Cedar Rapids that evening for supplies, the radio humming old Springsteen about working-class heroes. He texted Caleb a photo of the new deed, captioned yours too, and got back a heart emoji that felt like a lifeline. But scrolling news on his phone at the Tractor Supply checkout, tariffs spiking on AG imports, whispers of a recession, reality bit hard. The farm wasn't just legacy. It was a gamble, and Ethan was all in, chips stacked against the unknown. Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Ethan commuting weekends from Chicago, bunking in his old room with its posters of Dylan and faded AG maps, learning the ropes from Grandpa's barked lessons. Rotate them fields or watch 'em turn to dust, and late-night calls with Caleb plotting sustainable tweaks, like cover crops and drip irrigation. The city job held for now, a bridge to full-time, but the pull of Willow Creek grew, a magnetic hum under his skin. Thanksgiving brought the clan back, tensions simmering under turkey and gratitude. Jake arrived with spreadsheets just in case, his wife Emily shooting Ethan sympathetic glances while corralling their son. Over pie, with kids banished to the den for football reruns, the talk turned sharp. Uncle Tom griping about ethanol subsidies, Rita fretting over city poisons in the water. Ethan chimed in, citing co-op stats Caleb had sent, earning nods, and a grudging boys got head on his shoulders from Tom. But Jake's eyes soured, and later, as Ethan cleared plates, he overheard his cousin in the hall, voice low on his phone. Yeah, it's official. Gramps handed it to the kid. No, the queer one. Place'll be a rainbow ranch by spring. Laughter, cruel and cutting, then a pause. Nah, just venting. But mark my words, it's gonna burn. Ethan's blood ran cold, fist clenching around a fork till it bent. Jake knew. How? A slip from Mom? Gossip from town? The betrayal stung fresh, a crack in the foundation Grandpa had just shored up. He confronted him at dawn the next day, fog cloaking the barn as they faced off amid hay bales. You out me like that? To who? Your golf buddies. Jake scoffed, breath fogging. Eavesdropped on your little Chicago secret last summer. Remember? Sarah spilled when I bought her out for drinks. Thought you'd fess up. Instead, you play the prodigal and snag the prize. Family's pissed, Ethan. I'm just saying it. It's not a prize, it's responsibility. And it's mine. For now. Jake's smile was a knife. But Harper's fight dirty when crossed. Watch your back. The threat lingered as Ethan packed for the city. Thanksgiving leftovers a bitter pill. Caleb met him at O'Hare, arms open in the arrival's crush. But even his kiss couldn't fully chase the chill. "What's eating you?" he asked over diner hash that night. "Family politics." Ethan hedged, then spilled it, the leak, the jab. Caleb's face darkened, old wounds reopening. "Been there. My pops disowned me with a will rewrite. Don't let 'em poison this, Ethan. We're building something better." They did, in stolen hours. Weekend workshops on permaculture, Caleb's truck bed loaded with seedlings, nights tangled in motel sheets off I-80, whispering futures over takeout. By Christmas, Ethan had given notice at the nonprofit, the farm's call too loud to ignore. Grandpa greeted the news with a grunt and a new hearing, "Don't lose it, fool," while Mom baked him a welcome home pie, her hug lingering like she sensed the storms ahead. New Year's dawned crisp, Ethan knee-deep in calving season, the barn alive with new life as he and Caleb tagged calves under lantern light. "This is it," Ethan said, wiping sweat, watching Caleb's profile haloed in glow. "Our start." Caleb grinned, but his phone buzzed insistent. "Co-op crisis, a grant falling through. Gotta head back tomorrow. But yeah, our start." The goodbye kiss was fierce, promise-laced, but as Caleb's taillights vanished into the snow-dusted drive, Ethan felt the estate's vastness press in. A beautiful cage if love couldn't bridge the miles. Spring unfurled green and greedy, Willow Creek bursting with till and promise. Ethan threw himself in, plowing under Grandpa's watchful eye, negotiating leases with neighbors over coffee at the diner, even hosting a queer AG meetup in the barn that drew wary smiles from locals. Caleb visited often, his co-op's expansion syncing with farm upgrades. A hoop house for year-round greens, solar pumps humming silent. Their love deepened in the doing. Hands calloused from shared labor, laughter echoing over furrows, quiet admissions under starlit quilts about fears and fathers. But Jake's shadow lengthened. Whispers reached Ethan. Tires slashed on the John Deere, a gate left open that scattered the herd, accidents that reeked of sabotage. Grandpa dismissed it as gremlins, but his eyes sharpened, old instincts flaring. "Boys bitter as wormwood. Keep your powder dry." The breaking point came in May, under a sky bruised with thunderheads. Ethan was in the office, balancing books by the window overlooking the back 40, when his phone lit with a text from an unknown. "Check the east field. Your boy's secret ain't so secret." Heart hammering, he grabbed the keys, tires churning mud as he raced the fence line. There, in the shadow of the windbreak, Caleb's truck was parked crooked, door ajar. And inside, tangled on the bench seat with Jake. Lips locked, hands frantic, a betrayal captured mid-breath as they sprang apart, faces ashen. "Ethan?" Caleb stammered, zipping frantic, while Jake smirked, unrepentant. "Family tradition," Jake drawled. "You snooze, you lose." The storm broke then, not from the sky but Ethan's chest, a roar of hurt that drowned the thunder. He didn't yell, didn't swing, just stared, the world narrowing to the glint of betrayal in eyes he'd trusted. Caleb reached out, pleading. "It was nothing, a stupid mistake, I swear." But Ethan backed away, the farm's soil suddenly treacherous underfoot. "Get out," he said, voice steel. "Both of you, now." They scrambled, Jake's laugh trailing like smoke as they peeled away separate ways. Ethan stood there till rain lashed down, soaking him to bone, washing nothing clean. Grandpa found him hours later, slumped on the porch, the estate a ghost in the downpour. No words at first, just a blanket draped over shoulders, a flask pressed into numb hands. Then, soft as the patter, "Seen that look before. Your grandma's, when the bank came calling. Breaks you open, don't it?" Ethan choked on the whiskey, tears mixing with rain. He knew Grandpa, Caleb, with Jake, right there on my land. Harlan nodded slow, settling beside him, the rifle from that dawn months back across his lap. Not loaded, just familiar. "Men are fools, son. Love's the fool-maker. But this place, it endures. We rebuild." They sat through the night, storm raging, stories spilling. Grandpa's own regrets, A wartime fling in Italy he'd buried deep, the ache of unspoken truths with Grandma. Dawn crept gray, and with it resolve. Ethan wouldn't fold. He'd fight, not with fists, but with the grit Harpers were made of. Summer scorched in, the farm a forge testing Ethan's mettle. He poured the hurt into work. Miles of irrigation laid, fields rotated to drought-proof hybrids, a farm stand at the highway drawing city folk hungry for real. Mom moved back part-time, her quiet strength a balm, while Grandpa's health waned. A cough that lingered, doctor visits shrugged off. "Ain't quit tin till the harvest," he'd growl, but Ethan saw the fragility, the way hands trembled on the wheel. Caleb's calls came sporadic at first. Apologies laced with excuses, pleas to talk it out. Ethan let them go to voicemail, each a knife twist, until one August night, buzzed on homebrew under the porch light, he answered. "Why?" he demanded, voice raw. Caleb's sigh crackled over the line. "Jake, he got in my head. Said you were playin' house, that I was just the side gig till you settled with some real farm boy." I snapped. Proved him right, I guess. And me? What was I? Everything. Pause thick with unsaid. But I ain't built for roots, Ethan. Not like you. I'm sorry, don't fix it. But I am. The line went dead, and with it the last thread. Ethan deleted the number, turned to the stars, and whispered a goodbye to the man he'd almost built a life with. Harvest moon rose gold, combines roaring through golden seas, the air thick with chaff and triumph. Yields topped records, checks cleared fat, and the farm stand boomed. Queer couples from Des Moines browsing alongside church ladies. Bridges built one tomato at a time. Jake slunk back at Thanksgiving, tail between legs, a mumbled congrats on the crop, that Ethan met with cool nod. No quarter given. Grandpa's cough worsened through winter, confining him to the den with oxygen tanks hissing like resentful snakes. Ethan read to him, Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, the old man's favorite, while snow blanketed the fields in hush. "You did good, boy," Harlan wheezed one February eve, hand frail in Ethan's. "Bigger heart than I ever had. Love who you love. Just love fierce." He slipped away at dawn, peaceful as first light on frost, the estate mourning in quiet. The funeral packed the Methodist church, eulogies flowing like the cedar, stories of floods fought, debts dodged, a man who'd bent but never broke. Ethan spoke last, voice steady. "Grandpa gave me this land not 'cause I earned it, but 'cause he believed I could grow it, and in growing maybe heal us all." Spring returned, greening the wounds. Ethan dated slow. A barista from Iowa City with laugh lines and a knack for pie. Then a vet tech whose hands smelled of hay and honesty. No rush. The farm taught patience, roots deep before blooms. He expanded the meetups into workshops, Willow Creek a beacon for queer farmers chasing American dreams on their terms. Sustainable, seen, unashamed. One June twilight, as fireflies lit the pond and the estate thrummed with new life, Ethan stood on the porch, deed in pocket, Grandpa's flask at his lips. The rifle hung above the mantel now, relic not weapon, and the fields whispered back. Endurance, not perfection. Love, he'd learned, wasn't a single harvest but seasons turning. Storms and sun, betrayal and bloom. And in the heart of it, a legacy not of blood alone, but of chosen ground, where a boy who'd come out under shotgun shadow found not just acceptance, but the strength to tell his own truth. The end came gentle, like rain on parched earth. Ethan, glass raised to the horizon, toasting the ghosts and the living. "To Willow Creek," he murmured, "and the Harpers who grow."